Chapter 4. The dawn light spread across the metropolitan city, preventing much of the morning sun from reaching the ghettos, which lay to the south. A few scattered rays of light crawled across the tattered town, revealing the horrendous state of the industrial district from the night before. Bordeaux stood at the district's edge, shadows stained beneath his eyes, wide with shock. "Vincent!" Vincent's eyes twitched as his name echoed loudly through the ghetto. With his head throbbing and his body filled with aches and pains, Vincent slowly opened his eyes. Moaning loudly, he struggled to get up, his arms and legs reluctant to move freely. Mornings were never kind to Vincent, but today was brutal. "Man, God, I'm too young to be feeling this so in the morning," he complained before memories of the night before struck him like a lightning bolt. "If you decide that you want to get stronger, I'll meet you up here tomorrow at sunset." "Shit," Vincent mumbled, holding the side of his head, realizing that it wasn't some terrible dream. He had lost a fight. Again, he heard a scream echo through the ghetto below. "Vincent! You asshole!" Vincent gingerly walked to the edge of the cliff. He wasn't sure if it was his name being shouted into the wind, but he had an inkling. Although he couldn't see the ghetto behind the illusionary barrier, he leaned in but a little, hoping to confirm his suspicions. Then, a sharp pain thundered through his ribs. Vincent flinched, grabbing his side quickly, and as he did so, a portion of rock beneath his feet gave way due to the sudden shift in balance. With his body still protesting against him and his reactions dulled, Vincent missed any opportunity to catch himself as he comically tumbled downward. He bounced off several rocks, desperately trying to catch any natural ledges on the way down, but to no avail. He landed at the bottom with a heavy thud, the ground cracking beneath him and the air escaping his lungs. Today's not going to be my day," he mumbled, gasping for breath and closing his eyes. Several tiny pieces of rocky debris sprinkled his face from the cliff top above. Vincent hobbled through the ghetto, receiving odd looks from everyone around him. They weren't used to seeing him in such a vulnerable state. Bordeaux's voice thundered from behind. "There you are!" Vincent turned and received a heavy punch to his cheekbone. The lingering pains throughout his body made it near impossible for Vincent to react, and he fell backward into a pile of rubbish. The residents of the street stopped, holding their collective breath. From their eyes, Bordeaux took down the ghetto's once invincible monster. Although Vincent didn't move to retaliate immediately, Bordeaux could see the spark of anger in his eyes from within the filthy pile of trash, around banana peels strewn across Vincent's face. Bordeaux's skin crawled, and his body winced slightly. He leaned inward as if to compensate for his actions. "Here, man." He offered Vincent a hand up. Concern and confusion itched on his face. As he helped Vincent up by the arm, Bordeaux remembered the state of the Viper's hideout and let go, allowing Vincent to fall back into the rubbish behind him again. "Oh, come on! Ow!" Vincent croaked out, hissing through the pain. "Yeah, well, I thought we understood each other," Bordeaux bellowed. Any onlookers who thought to linger quickly disappeared from the streets. They had seen enough of Vincent's fights to know this wouldn't end well. "I know you can't trust me just like that, but you didn't need to trash our spot. I can't find any of the other guys either. So tell me, what did you do to them?" Vincent pulled himself up, using the wall to assist him. "Can it, will you?" he groaned. "It wasn't me. Well, okay, it wasn't me. Oh, crap. But not like that." "What do you mean?" Bordeaux asked, shaking his head. Vincent straightened himself, stepping out of the trash, and started walking down the street towards the industrial district, signaling for Bordeaux to follow. "Come on. I'll explain on the way." He felt a bit lighter, the pains ebbing away with each step forward. Bordeaux, to his credit, didn't hesitate to follow Vincent. The two unlikely allies walked together through the streets as Vincent explained everything. It was no easy task, but he took their newfound truce and understanding seriously. When they eventually arrived at the industrial district, Vincent was faced with the grim reality of the destruction left behind. A nervous bead of sweat fell down his face as he pondered how the ghetto could look any worse. Vincent shifted, guilt and humiliation surging through him. Not so much for the Vipers, but this district was still a part of his home, and he had unintentionally helped destroy it.
"Don't worry,"
Bedeau said, hesitantly placing a comforting hand on Vincent's shoulder. He hadn't said a word as Vincent explained what had happened. He didn't balk or shame Vincent for how the fight had ended.
"It's not your fault."
Vincent looked at Bedeau curiously. How did you know I was feeling guilty? Bedeau threw his head back with a hearty laugh.
How could you not? You're used to playing the hero, not the villain. You help rebuild things, not tear them apart.
He slapped Vincent hard on the back and walked towards the debris.
"Come on, you gonna help fix this up or not?"
Later that afternoon, Vincent and Bedeau had finally gone their separate ways. They had spent the entire day trying to straighten bent pipes and beams, reattaching previously connected supports, and clearing away debris. Vincent walked through the ghetto streets with his hands in his pockets, looking down at the ground. Reflecting on all the work they had just done, he was glad they could fix most of the damage. Although he knew that Zero was partly responsible for the destruction, Vincent couldn't help the guilt that crept through him, all too aware that he had initiated the fight in the first place. He replayed Bedeau's words from the alleyway the day before.
"You just had to dive in and recklessly attack. You know that temper of yours is what makes you predictable."
He then thought back to the similar advice given to him by Zero. Looks like Bedeau is not the only one who needs to do things differently. A faint smile appeared on his face. The ache in his chest eased slightly. Finally, he and Bedeau had formed some sort of amicable relationship. All it took was a literal change in perspective. And, for me to get my ass kicked. He chuckled. Vincent looked up at the Starfall cliffs as the sun began to set. They passed in and out of view between the buildings on his way home. True strength, huh? Vincent stopped and darted back towards the industrial district with a determined gleam in his eyes. When he arrived, Vincent found Bedeau sitting in front of a bin fire with several boxes piled around him. "What's with the boxes?" Vincent asked. Bedeau looked behind him and slapped the side of the nearest container.
"Oh, I thought you went home for the day. This is all the food and supplies that me and the guy stole over the last few months."
Vincent raised an eyebrow. "You leaving or something?" he asked. Bedeau leaned back again, resting his outstretched hands on the concrete behind him.
"Nah, but I don't need an empty snake nest,"
he chuckled. "I don't know. You got a lot of space here now. Why not make the most of it? Besides, this place finally has enough room for your ego." Vincent joked. It had been so long since he could play earnestly with anyone. It felt nice to have a friend, and he wanted to preserve this moment. He hesitated, second-guessing what he had come to say. Bedeau leaned forward and hopped back to his feet.
"You and that Zero guy trashed this place pretty good. But you're right. It's still got plenty of room and shelter. Shelter the people of the ghetto could use."
"And the boxes?" Vincent quizzed.
"I'm gonna open them up and offer all of it back first thing tomorrow morning. My way of saying sorry, I guess."
Vincent was touched, and he smiled genuinely for the first time in years.
"Besides, you have somewhere else you need to be, right?"
Vincent nodded. With embers sparking into the air from the fire, Bedeau turned to face Vincent, offering him an outstretched hand. Vincent chuckled softly, meeting Bedeau with a firm handshake. "Thanks. But hey, if I find out you're causing trouble, I'll tell everyone how you pissed yourself."
"Yeah? And I'll tell everyone how you got your ass kicked by a man with only one eye."
Vincent gazed unflinchingly at Bedeau. He'd seen the worst of this man over the years, and found it hard to suddenly place such a tremendous trust in him. Yet, in Vincent's surprise, there was no deceit in Bedeau's eyes. Not this time. It reminded Vincent of the look Bedeau used to have before he got caught up in all the gang activity. Back when the Vipers' fang, Bedeau was just a teenager who liked to tinker with his motorcycle and work out. In those days, a much younger Vincent used to idolize the ruffian, desperate to be accepted by the big kid on the block. Vincent held Bedeau's gaze for a moment longer before letting go of the handshake. He smiled and turned to walk away, lifting his hand in farewell. "Look after everyone, will ya? Believe it or not, you can be a cool guy when you're not acting like a jackass. Some of the kids around here might even look up to you over time. They might want to be your friends, so try not to treat people like crap just because they're a little different, okay?" Vincent's departing words hit Bedeau with a feeling of sudden realization. He smiled broadly and called back.
"Yeah, you're right. You never know when one of them might grow up to be the guy who saves this place."
Vincent's face was covered in shadows, and a tear fell from beneath the brim of Vincent's hat. It rolled around in an amused smirk as he turned a corner, disappearing from Bedeau's sight. Jackass. Running as fast as he could towards the base of the cliffs, Vincent replayed Zero's words again. "If you decide that you want to get stronger, I'll meet you up here again tomorrow at sunset." Without any more doubts to loose ends to tend to, Vincent was ecstatic to embark on a new journey. His mind was overflowing with possibilities. Sure, that Zero guy was a jerk, but he was strong, much stronger. If he could befriend Bedeau, maybe he could start fresh with Zero. Vincent bounced his way back up the steep ridge, trying to beat the setting sun. Just before the last light had left the sky, Vincent arrived at the peak, but there was nobody to be seen. "Zero!" he called. A few minutes passed by, but there was nothing. Vincent paced back and forth, wondering if Zero was late. The excitement began to transition into worry. He didn't want to go back now. He was finally ready. Then something caught his eye. Something that replaced all of Vincent's newfound positivity with frustration, anger, and contempt. There in the dirt was a message. "Did you really think I'd wait around just for you? Head south for 2 days until you reach a village called Cheta. One of my guys will meet you there. Don't die." A sudden wave of exhaustion hit Vincent, coupled with a simultaneous burning desire for unbridled violence. "I hate him so much," Vincent growled, focusing on the crudely drawn picture. "And what does he mean, don't die?" Vincent kicked his feet through the message and faced the forest, stretching his arms and bending side to side in preparation. "I'll show him. I'll get there in one day," he confidently proclaimed. Vincent readied himself for a mad dash forward, but before doing so, he paused and looked around at the large, expansive forest before him. "Wait, which way is south?" Feeling a little embarrassed, Vincent stood back up and began pacing back and forth, cursing loudly. However, as he did so, he spied yet another message written in the dirt on the far side of the clearing. He stormed over and looked down. "South is this way, moron." "I'll kill him!" Vincent roared aloud as all the birds in the surrounding trees scattered. "Okay, let's try this again." He held his breath, calming himself slightly. Vincent held his foot over the grass, just as he had done every day at sunset. Only this time, he exhaled slowly and put his weight down, stepping into the forest towards his future. It wasn't long before Vincent came across a large wall painted in the same colors as the ones in Ryuuga. It even looked similar to the one separating the ghetto from the metropolis, but to his surprise, the wall before him now seemed far less formidable, even for an average human being. Vincent theorized that it was probably more to keep animals out rather than humans, while also marking the area as private property. The dense forest had grown close to the wall, almost camouflaging it entirely and giving off a post-apocalyptic vibe. Clearly, nobody was maintaining it. Vincent leapt over the boundary of concrete and metal easily, landing lightly on the other side. He dusted himself off and looked up to find a deep thicket of overgrown grass, vines, and large trees that seemed to stretch out for an eternity. This was the unknown, and it made him uneasy. In contrast to its lush beauty, the forest also carried a menacing and dangerous aura. Shaking this feeling aside, Vincent couldn't wait to experience the new world before him. All he had to do was cross the Starfall Forest.